Hi, thanks for joining us. I'm Jonathan Silver. I'm a reporter here at the Austin American-Statesman. I'm here with Asher Price. We are reporters. We're covering the Capitol, and we're wanting to just have a quick, brief discussion about what's happening at the legislative session. Asher, do you want to jump in, talk about kind of what you do?
Sure. I'm a state desk reporter as well. I cover budget issues and energy and the environment, and we're kind of in the sort of lull period at the Capitol here before things get going thick and heavy in terms of the politics and the flush of bills, hitting the Senate and House floor. Right now, as I said, I cover budget issues, and the state and the House, the Senate and the House rather, have made their initial budget proposals, and so there's some early sparring going on over how much money the state should spend on supporting schools, and also how much they should sort of cap the ability of school districts and counties and cities to raise property taxes. So that's where sort of the points of friction are right now at the Capitol. As far as the other parts of my beat go, energy and the environment, I'm interested a lot in illuminating the kind of intersection of power and politics and money and energy. And I think a couple of the things that are coming up this session that are especially interesting to me, and part of my challenge, of course, especially with dealing with energy issues, is sometimes making them interesting to readers, because sometimes they can seem a little removed and opaque. Hold on to your hat, but subsidies for wind energy companies. There are various kind of tax breaks that renewable energy companies get, and certain lawmakers who are especially aligned with oil and gas interests are threatening to cut those subsidies. So I'm going to be tracking that this session. I'm also working on some energy issues involving the kind of collision between sort of natural gas exploration, fracking, and endangered species preservation. So that's a whole other issue that I continue to work at. I've written about in the past, and so during this kind of time in the legislative session where things aren't necessarily going full blast, I find as a reporter it's a good opportunity for me to kind of think about sort of more investigative stories that I want to finish up as things get underway. Johnathan, I know you've been working a lot on, part of what you cover at the Capitol is the Texas House.
Right.
And there's been a change in leadership over at the Texas House. There was Speaker Joe Straus for whatever it was, a half dozen years leading the Texas House, and he was seen widely as a moderating influence. And he's gone now, and he's been replaced by Dennis Bonnen. And I'm sort of curious if you've seen any early clues, either in the kind of budget that Dennis Bonnen has proposed, or any of his committee assignments that actually just came out today, where he decided which of his members would chair which committees, or anything else. I wonder if you're seeing any clues about what kind of speaker Dennis Bonnen might be, and whether he's Straussian in the sense of being more moderate, or whether he'll be more conservative in the mold of his opposite number in the state Senate.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for bringing up that point about the new speaker. His name's Dennis Bonnen. He's from Angleton, that's south of Houston in Brazoria County, and it's interesting you bring this up because just today we do have committee assignments came down, and there's a little of something for everybody. He did not really leave out any major groups. The more
he spread the wealth, as it were.
Right, yeah. And when it comes to comparing him to Strauss, I think one thing that was interesting about Strauss in comparison to Bonin is Strauss came off as a very calm and cool kind of leader, and you didn't really know offhand what he was thinking about a particular issue, whereas Bonin has demonstrated caution in some respect when talking about certain issues, but in a lot of other issues, he'll just flat out tell you where he stands. And most people, a lot of lawmakers have said that with him, you know where you stand with him immediately. And yes, I do cover the Texas House, and so I've been there every day the House has been in session this session so far. And one thing that's really notable about him, one thing I noticed is he's very transparent about a resolution, like just a resolution that's a memorial resolution, or if it's about certain House rules or procedures. And he will very quickly and easily break down, like he'll say, I want everyone to listen to me so they'll know that we're trying to take these days off because we have to do this, and don't worry, these assignments are coming. Or, you know, he's very particular about that kind of stuff, about wanting to be open and making sure everyone knows what's going on as far as he can allow that kind of business to happen in the House.
We'll see if he sustains that through the session. It's kind of easy to do that sort of thing, a lot easier to do that sort of thing now, I would think, than in April when, you know, tensions rise and so on.
Right.
Are there things, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Are there things that special things that you're especially excited about that you're working on related to your coverage either in Texas House or in some other area of your coverage in state politics?
Yeah, and I should have brought this up earlier. In addition to the House, I also cover immigration, transportation, and I think I might also be covering some ethics, and I'm also following sexual harassment and like the census kind of stuff. And
we're all covering a lot more than we used to on a per reporter basis.
Yeah. I think what's interesting right now with immigration is, you know, because we are a border state, there's a lot of conversation that's already begun now about ways to circumvent the Trump administration or to push back on anecdotes or the way life along the border in those communities have been characterized, and how what they say mischaracterizations have been nationalized. There's also an effort to undo parts of Senate Bill 4 from the 2017 session, and that bill basically made it harder for local governments to adopt policies or procedures that help people who are residents or living in Texas who are in the country illegally. And so that's something I'm very interested in, and how a bigger group of Democrats would try to make that more of a reality.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Let me ask you about one other thing here. You know, I know you wrote closely about the efforts to remove this plaque that was at the Texas Capitol. This is a plaque that, I mean, you can articulate better than I can, but that made certain claims about the bases for the Civil War. And I know, you know, what was it, the State Preservation Board, or just voted to get rid of it. It's got rid of. What I'm curious about is where this thing is now. I feel like there's like a, you know, Harry Potter in the Chamber of Confederate Secrets. There's this plaque. There's a Jefferson Davis statue that was on the UT campus. I'm sure there are a bunch of other monuments and memorials, some of which still are on the Capitol grounds and other places. But you know, they tend to get collected somewhere. They don't necessarily get melted down. They get put in storage. I wonder, do you have any insight into where that plaque is now and what's going to happen to it?
The short answer is no. I believe the plaque, though, it was taken down. I I guess the preservation board met on January 11th. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you can memorize the calendar.
That was the governor and the lieutenant governor and the speaker and one or two other people, right?
Right, and then the weekend after that weekend, the plaque was taken down, and I believe it is somewhere in one of the preservation board offices somewhere. And it's interesting that you brought this up because they're going to meet again this Friday to determine where to relocate it officially.
I see. So right now it's in somebody's drawer, probably.
Right. I think it's sitting on some very nice cottony or leather thing where it's just being covered in, as it awaits its next destination. Maybe it's forever home.
And in a nutshell, again, what was the claim of the plaque?
So the plaque is called Children of the Confederacy's Creed, and the Children of the Confederacy was a group of, I think they still exist. It's not the same membership. You have to be a child to be a member, but it's like minors who are, I guess, connected to the Confederacy in some way, and they're like a minor subsidiary group of the United Daughters of the Confederacy. And so they created this. They had this plaque made, and they made it as a gift to the state to be placed in the Capitol. And the plaque honors the Confederacy, and then it goes one step that some have said is too far by saying it goes on to say that the Civil War was not a war to sustain slavery. And I think that's been the issue that most people have taken with it.
Right. I think we probably have to wrap it up at that. My name again is Asher Price. My Twitter handle is @AsherPrice, and I'm a state desk reporter for the Austin American-Statesman.
And I'm Johnathan Silver. My handle is my first name and last name all together, JOHNATHAN, Silver, SILVER. And please check our stuff out online at statesman.com for more stories like this and others.